Welcome. This is Barry Jones from the Angel School, and we're here for our weekly angel reading for August the 26th through September 1st, 2019. And so as we just take a moment to collect ourselves and to relinquish everything that is on our mind that is distracting or creating some kind of inner disturbance, or if you're just finding it a little difficult to just settle down and settle into your soul's wealth of inner being, or the inner being of your soul, to just surrender yourself to this enormous well-beingness. And for some reason it's interesting that before I sort of get into this, but they were indicating that we're just moving into a new astrological month and sign of Virgo. So they kept writing Earth, and it took me a while to get it because I'm not an astrologist or I'm aware of it, but don't keep in with the details of it all. But so yeah, we're moving into, I think, Virgo, and so just be aware of how for the month, how this might affect your energy and the influences of that sign in your life. And so what I'm sort of seeing is, I don't know why, it's weird, but I'm sort of seeing like a deer mask. And it's very interesting. I've seen it twice while I'm talking to you. And so the masks are about, revealing something, uncovering something. And but that it's the animal of a deer, which, tend to associate with gentleness and foresight. I know that very heart-centered, and also I've seen sort of connected to intuition. And maybe this is about really being in touch, as they write the word earth out again, and reminding me of just the thought that I had before I started the video, being in touch with your own true nature. It's about being in connection with the physical realm and the beauty of your own inner true nature. And so maybe in this month, you'll be feeling as though those masks will start to either reveal themselves or they'll start to fall away. So you could go from the mask revealing itself to you as that authenticity, that inner beauty, that inner light persist in making you aware. And you may be informed of, through this awareness, of how you sort of incorporate yourself into your various roles, in particular in your career, in your jobs. This role may shift, and you may be getting some messages about or feeling feeling like a new beginning. They're writing out the word page, and pages are about new beginnings. And so maybe there is a shift, and they're writing the word lane, like you're going to shift lanes. So they were kind of writing that as I was saying. shift, so that maybe you're going to like shift lanes, and and it's about revealing or becoming aware of your your authentic self. That when this happens, the approach within you towards what it is that the roles that you're in, that will change. And that could be really inspiring, actually, because that means that you may find maybe, you were finding it a bit dull, and you were feeling a bit restrained. But we often blame these restraints on the outside. And could be, yes, I'm not going to argue with you about how you feel about things outside of you and what's going on and who's the cause of it and all that. But I'd like to add a little piece in there for you. Think about that the more that you reveal your true authentic self, and the more that you allow yourself the more you allow your spirit to unleash itself and integrate into that role, that this becomes more pure, and the experience becomes more passionate, and you start to really act from the convictions of your heart and those intentions and impulses, rather than trying to fit into a mold or to constantly be looking at how you perform your role through the eyes of your supervisor or, etc. And so bringing that inner depth to the role, and in that way you transform the whole dynamic, where everybody's looking at you to set the trends, rather than you're looking for someone else to set the standard and tell you what the trend should be and how you should perform and how you should enact your own inner essence. So now they're writing they're making this complicated for me. They're writing there are some cons, and I say that because I have no idea what's going to come out of it next until I start talking. But they're saying that there are some cons to this, and wherein you may not get the reactions that you're hoping for at first. And sometimes people may not really be on that, that trail with you. But remember that anyone who sets trends or who's really a leader rarely has instant agreement and praise. So there's that period of stepping into yourself and stepping out of the limelight of others and how they see you, and when they choose to praise you and recognize you. And then stepping out into your own alignment and being brave about that. Believing in yourself. Believing in yourself, believing in your heart, believing in what you're passionate about, and knowing that what you're doing is the right thing. It's the best thing for everyone involved. And you're going to have to sort of, really tread that path alone for a while until it starts to connect for others, until it enlightens their eyes and they are able to make connections to their authenticity and the way that they want to be authentic in their roles. And that's when that support's going to come, but it's going to come with I want to say a full respect and understanding. And that's the best kind of leadership, when you're being yourself, and then and when everyone else is able, and they wrote the word generosity as I was saying that, it's about you generously giving of yourself, your true self, your true nature, honoring your true nature, aligning with that inner beauty, and connecting that with bringing that into the material world, bringing that into the tangible everyday life aspect of who you are and what's building around you. It's really important, it seems. So, a very interesting change in dynamics. And they're showing me sort of a bay window, 3 panels. And so this gives me a sense of opportunities opening up for you. But they're writing the word form. And I feel like the opportunities are going to sort of be a part of your own formation. So in this week, what's been really coming to me, now let me just sort of saying the words impressive. But what's coming to me is, that we get really sort of frantic about opportunities. We want options. We pray for them. We want abundance. And then when it comes, it's the first thing we're scared of. We want to push it away. And we do it we resist by worrying about making the wrong choice. And so I'd like to really clarify for you that if they are choices that you can't figure out which one you want, the one thing you do know, and I may have said this last week, is that the choices you don't want, you're not worrying about at all. That means that when you're not worried about a choice, it absolutely means it's off the table. It's like clear no. And these are maybes, and maybes are like yes, but they're also maybe no. And it's obvious you're gonna say no to some of them, and you're gonna say yes to one of them in particular. And they're writing out the word responsibility. This is the responsibility. We all want the universe to give it to us, and the universe does do that. But the universe gives the opportunity to you to then create from that opportunity what you would like. So that's where the responsibility piece comes in, where first you simply exercise your free will. And that is to say yes and no. Say yes to what you want and no to the things that you are going to leave behind, possibly for now or permanently. But being able to say yes to something is a responsibility, your spiritual obligation. That's when you participate in the sort of orchestration of the universe. You are an equal partner in this. And it's from that moment that you make that choice that you must realize that you're not choosing from these options, these maybes, because there's something wrong with it. You're choosing from them because they each will allow you to responsibly take up your role, your position, and define the opportunity rather than having the opportunity to define you. You are the creator. You give your essence. It is that truth of yourself, that inner beauty of your soul that creates the opportunity. And when you live fully this role, this authentic role of your soul within any opportunities that you have available to you, this is what determines the success. And success is not determined by how much you acquire and how much you or by how much you lose. Like failure and success is not about this. It is about how much happiness you are able to take pleasure in through your own choices, through your free will, through that primary responsibility of being clear and saying yes or no, and then taking that step into that yes. And they keep writing this word all week to me, messages, and they're writing it again now, and they were writing it in the video last week. And I feel like, it's obvious, right? But then maybe it's sort of symbolic in some other ways. But I'm not quite sure what that may mean, but I feel like something else. So don't look for messages to come in just one particular way. Be aware of those moments where you feel like a connection, like how when you meet somebody and right away you just hit it off. You feel like you have this really strong connection, and maybe you've had this long connection, friendship or interaction with this person that's lasted for a long time. That feeling can happen in a lot of different circumstances, and not just with people, but you may feel it with things or places or opportunities. And so you may be looking for some kind of verbal message, but the universe is vibrational. So you have to pay attention to those vibrational responses, those kinesthetic sort of interactions within your desire that just bursts within you, that just makes you feel like you're, at home, or that this is secure or just right, like, Goldilocks and the Three Little Bears, that feeling, that conviction. So pay attention to those messages. Let's take a look at the card for the week and leadership, and we were just really talking about that earlier. And this is Archangel Gabriel, and so the message on the card says it's time for you to assume your leadership power, position, and lovingly guide others. And when I said that leadership power, I was really thinking about that yes, no. For some of you may be thinking, this may be like you could be called into a leadership role as to lead a project, or to become like a supervisor or principal. I'm just thinking of all these, where you're in charge of a team. But this could also really, leadership on that everyday aspect of your life is the power of your free will, yes and no. And you get these yes-no impulses, vibrational messages from the universe. And how often do you and I wrestle with the message we're given? You may not want to do something, and you get that strong feeling, but then you somehow want to play a game of let's play this out and see. And as you're doing it, you feel no better. You feel more and more confused. You're emotionally conflicted. The more you linger to go beyond that initial impulse, no. So we have to listen to the messages, the vibrational messages that the universe offers us. And it's not that the universe is telling you what to do. The universe is giving you a vibrational picture of what you may take from this, or how this may impact you. Not that it's trying to tell you that you can't do what you want and that this is the flat out outcome, but it is basing it on your sort of total proclivities, I guess, how you sort of tend to sort of mesh with certain situations. And I'm seeing the word anxiety. So, you got to remember that your soul is observant. It observes without judgment. It doesn't join in and say, like our friends may, and that's what we call support. But the support of the soul is different. It doesn't chime in and say, yeah, you need to just walk away from that because you know that you've been there before. I know how you feel. Me too. And it's not going to do that. But it does observe, and it will sort of like give you a sign like anxiety and sort of make you aware of the potential energy that this holds. And it'll feel like something you're familiar with. So you have to pay attention to these vibrational messages and trust them. It's not in judgment, and I know because that's how we take everything, is like, oh yeah, this is just going to be bad, and we just start talking about it. And that doesn't feel good to us because it's like we're trying to talk ourselves out of something when we don't need to do that. We just need to trust that feeling so we can move on to the other options. Don't worry about what you're going to miss, because this is not how the universe sees anything. It's not about missing out on anything. It's about creating and experiencing, and all of the experience, the contrast from failure to succeeding, is a part of that experience. It is what creates your own development and your evolution, and you don't really want to interfere with that. As much as we would just love everything to be, perfect, but we really don't want to interfere with that, do we? We really want to continue to evolve. We truly want to continue to develop our abilities and our way of living and our lifestyles and our beliefs. We want to develop. We don't want to remain stuck. All right, so let's take a look at the cards for the upcoming week. But just getting a sense of, they just want you to hear that this is what it means to be a leader. This is what it means to be fearless, because you're not afraid, because you realize there is nothing to fear, but there is only everything to learn and to develop and to evolve. That's why you're here. That's why we're all here. And there's a lot of things going on. And we all want to react the same way to it. But it may not be meant for you to react the same way to it. I'm not going to tell you that one way or the other is wrong, and we shouldn't be doing this with other people. Because they're not reacting in the same way that you are. They may have the same sentiment, but they have another way of dealing with it. Or they are making choices to influence it from a different path. And all of those ways are necessary if a problem, a systemic problem that's affecting a great number of people, is to actually be transformed. We need everybody to be working in their lane through their own vibrational conviction. All right. So let's take a look and see what cards we have coming up for the beginning of the week. And this card I remember, and whenever I remember something, because I always feel like my memory is so bad, I remember the angel number 268. So I'm going to grab that and take a look at that number. And we had the strength card recently come up. So, so the message, and I'll just show it to you, says it's essential that you approach money from a spiritual perspective. Always remember that your source is within and around you. Give thanks for an increased supply, and it is done. So what they're wanting you to do, and I know this is really difficult, when you're in fear and you are worried, and there's that word again, when you're worried and you have things that you need, this is not easy to do, to get all spiritual about it. And that's because we think of spiritual as something separate. We think of it as something like what I'm doing here, or meditating, and talking about these ideas that sort of elevate and inspire us, but we don't feel like we have a connection to them, and to some they don't feel realistic when you're in a moment where you have a need. That need is just pulling at you. It's the same thing when you are, I've noticed being hungry, and have eaten enough, but your body, and so it's sort of like those things that are pulling at us, and it's a pattern. It'll come back. And, we can just keep dealing with it the same way. And we kind of lose our power, is the word I'm seeing them write out, in these moments. Because we really feel like a chicken with its head cut off. We don't know which direction to go, and we can't find direction. And that's just really insane. But it's how we react. It's like, it's all we know how to do. And other than, breaking laws, and most of you, probably all of you watching, would not dare do that. And so you feel really trapped, right? You feel really trapped. And so what is it that in this moment is that one can do to really find that center, to really make that connection? And it's like with the strength card, it's like you usually see this woman who's got this primal nature of the animal under control, or they've developed some kind of relationship, which where she's come from a place of inner calm. And the thing about it is, we know that animals react to our energy, and their responses that we kind of consider that are barbaric or aggressive is only because we are not centered and calm in ourselves. And so the thing is like, what we have to learn is that our reactions to things is what creates the appearance of the thing being insurmountable to you. It appears as a challenge because you react with anxiety and stress each time. And you're focused so much on the lack that you're not able to see what opportunities you could create for yourself. And most of the time, this is something that has been coming. You have some awareness that this thing could happen, and we just become so afraid that we get these impulses to take this opportunity so that this situation, this need would be met. But what we do is we just so afraid of big, things that have a huge capacity, and we just let ourselves drown in our fears, and we don't do anything. And then when the moment that impacts you, where you have to, ante up, then you don't have the resources to do that. And so from the moment you get a vibrational connection, you augment the problem so that none of the solutions are available to you. Either you're afraid of the solutions, or you see yourself as being too incapable of embracing that solution. And then it's sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. So what I would tell you is that first, learn to find a new response. When because I know from my own experiences, we get sort of a heads up, but we just don't pay attention. We don't listen to that little vibrational message. You maybe put away, save a little bit, or here's maybe an opportunity to make a little extra money comes up, and you just don't feel like you're ready for whatever that opportunity is. It's not that you're not ready for the cash. You're just not ready. You don't feel that you deserve it, or you don't feel that you're good enough to take on that opportunity. And so what I would encourage you to do is, when you get that moment of clarity, to go ahead and not push away whatever is coming to you, and to go face it in that moment. That's how you can learn to be in balance with the universe, to be in balance with those complicated, situations that seem, like, an animal, sort of like unpredictable and frightening is not the right word, but it's, for lack of a better word, deal with it when you are in that calm place, when you're getting those clear messages that you need to deal with this. Go ahead and deal with it. Once you start practicing dealing with those things, instead of putting them away for the next day or for a little bit, I'll deal with that. Don't be Scarlett O'Hara, Stop doing that. And when you stop doing that, you'll stop the practice that will make you feel like you are powerless, because it's that kind of practice that leads to that powerlessness feeling, and that causes you to act irrationally. So if you get what I'm saying, so really take care of situations when they're cool and calm. And that's how you'll learn to develop this kind of control over these lower based frequencies that can come up in our lives. Okay? Let's take a look at the card, and that's what it means to handle it spiritually, which you can see is not at all irrational. It's very practical advice, but paying attention to your spirit, honoring your spirit, is being spiritual. Listening to the vibrational impulses, because the universe gives you information when you're calm, but you tend to react. Like, you may pull a card and go, but you're interpreting it just one way. If you see a card, it looks negative, you interpret it negative. But what could be the flip side of that? What is it? Because there's light and dark in every situation. So on the one hand, and then on the other hand, do that. But you can do that early. Okay? And they keep writing the word integrity. And this is how you also walk the path of integrity. It's how you cultivate a path of integrity, by listening to the vibrational messages, those early messages, and embrace and trust the opportunities or the instincts for the solutions that you receive. Trust. Okay, so this is interesting now that we have the Six of Earth right beside this card. And so this is about that balance, okay? And so I get a sense in this week that you're going to learn to really your own inner nature is being revealed to you, and you're going to learn. And what that means, those messages, those vibrational impulses, those connections, and those connections are going to help you to create the balance that you need, that spiritual balance that you need with your physical surroundings and with your the integration of your expression with your life. So this is really important that you pay attention to how you're giving and how you're receiving, and pay attention to, don't force, but just notice the exchanges that you're encountering with people or situations or events. Notice the exchanges and notice the balance. Notice how the nature of life is always creating balance for you. Notice in conversations the balance, and when it starts to tip to one side or the other, notice that feeling when you feel like maybe you're losing the argument, and then notice that your tendency is to want to get back up on top, and there's no exchange. There's a challenge or a battle. And so what you want to do is notice that when the scales tip for whatever reason, and you want to find that way to balance, which means to render an appropriate response that continues the process of exchange. That an exchange means you have open channels, to keep the channels open and flowing, to get into the vibrational mix that allows you to allow this to happen. Same thing with a situation where you have a need of something, and look for that balance, look for that alignment of exchange, the way that you can respond that will encourage that will encourage you to start getting support to help with that allow you to listen and hear what type of choices you need to make. That's the power of free will, and that's what we give up when we allow ourselves to worry and become anxious. Okay. And so this is interesting because now we're talking about the Queen of Water, and this is the queens have a grounding energy in terms of development, and also as well as their traits are one of nurturing. So this queen is really right next to the scales, is telling you to go with the flow by really paying attention to your intuition, paying attention to those messages. You are connected to the universe. Look how she's just like the universe is just swirling around her, and she's like her wings are up like antennas into the stratosphere of the universe, and she's picking up all the signals, and all the feelings are flowing through her in a harmonious way. And so she uses these feelings and she channels them in exchange, talking about that exchange, because that's a frequency of exchange, compassion. She channels them as compassion, understanding, and wisdom. And her role is to ground that. So if you're in a situation, you want to ground this compassion into this exchange. What if it's a financial issue or whatever it is, if it's about a role or it's about a relationship, you want to really be grounding. You want to be receptive. You want to be the power behind the scenes, which means that you don't have to challenge someone openly, but you're gonna just guide them. Do you know what I mean by that? It's sort of like this person's like, or you're going crazy, and what you're doing is you're just listening, and you're not trying to win. You're trying to create harmony. And a person who's experiencing a lot of anxiety or rage, they need something to help them. They need to feel heard, and then they need to be able to listen to their own heart. And you have that ability to help them hear. And in this situation, if you want to remember that you want to allow yourself, you want to be compassionate with yourself so that you can hear and prepare. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at the card from the bottom of the deck. All right, the Four of Air, Swords. And so this is about, it's about give it a rest, right? It's about not, the card comes before. It's the Three of Swords, about, taking things to heart, taking everything to heart, and let it just, that can drain you. That can wear you out. So don't take everything to heart. Don't take everything as a, I can't think of the right phrase, but, with the alarms. Don't think of like a full alarm system, going off. Don't make everything traumatic or dramatic. And because that can wear and drain your energy. And so this is a card about taking care of yourself, making sure, and taking care of yourself, first of all, it doesn't mean like you should just sit there and do nothing, but it means do the things that rejuvenate you so that you can start to make progress, so you can be making progress as you recover. Right, not the word stalemate. And it's possibly if you've run into a stalemate where you can't move anywhere, you need to take care of yourself. When you can't figure out what to do, take care of yourself, nurture yourself, love yourself. Let whatever go that is, just let it go. Like, don't try to fix it, because you need to take care of you. You need to heal you. Focus on that, and then you'll be back in alignment with that frequency of exchange and harmony, because the 6 is about harmony and cooperation. And so you'll be back in that, and the 4 is about stability. So you'll be back in that frequency where you're stabilized. So right now, the first thing to do is to stabilize yourself. So when a situation comes up that you can't handle, do the thing that stabilizes you. That's what this card, and in particular, stabilizes your mind. We're talking about air, or we're talking about your mind, or communication. Do whatever that stabilizes the communications between you, or misunderstanding. Stabilize the misunderstanding first. Then you can build the exchange. And once you're in that frequency of exchange and harmony, cooperation, then there's flow. There's a flow of energy, and resources flow with that. Opportunities flow in that vibrational context. This is how, and this is your real responsibility. This is your spiritual responsibility, because you can't get the perspective you're looking for if you're cut off, if you're in the context of resistance. Okay? So this is how you're, learning to exercise your power, saying yes to harmony and cooperation, exchange, compassion, and saying no to all that other worry, anxiety, feelings of being incapable, not deserving, frantic over situations, procrastination, because that's how a lot of these situations get us, because we procrastinate. We ignore those initial vibrational messages. All right. So we're going to stop here, and that's really intense and insightful. But I send you lots of love. And if you would like to get an angel reading from me, you can contact me at theangelschool.com. You can go to my webpage on the services page where you can find the links to set up the session. And if you haven't joined us for the daily card messages on my Facebook page, you can go to the link below as well. You can also reach the videos and the daily card messages that are on the Facebook page through Twitter as well. So have a beautiful week. Love yourself. Believe and trust in yourself, and focus on creating and fostering harmony and cooperation, and stabilizing yourself, your mind, and your interactions, your communication, making sure that there's no misunderstandings. All right. Until next week, God bless you all.